And thank you, lady from the clouds. All right, let me move my keyboard out of the way too so I can take
Are
notes.
those mushrooms on the back of your wall there? What is
I
that?
don't know what the heck that is. It's like some kind of office art, you know what I mean?
Magical
Some
mushrooms.
kind of like, Marshall's office art, I'm sure. Okay. Magic mushrooms, that'd be fun.
Yeah, looks like it from here.
All right, so let me just get myself situated. I'm gonna give a little clap for Jake so he knows where to start. Hold on, let me grab my other ear pod here. Okay, there we go, Jake. There's your starting point. Welcome back to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. I am your host, Lindsay Favazza with Crush It in Real Estate, and I am sitting here today on Zoom. Unfortunately, I wish I could be in Canada with you, my friend, but I am sitting across from Steve Zolinardo. He is with Remax West and Zolinardo and Associates Realty in the Greater Toronto area. We have quite a big following up in Canada, so I'm so excited to have you here because I'm sure there's going to be tons of people that are excited to hear from you. So welcome to the podcast today, Steve.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really surprising to get that email from you guys, and yeah, happy to kind of hang out with you guys. It's going to be awesome.
I very often spend good amount of time on our Crush It in Real Estate Instagram channel, either like posting or just like commenting and getting back to people. So most of the time it's me. Anthony does a lot of it too, but it's mostly me. But when I was doing that one day, I came across a video that you had and I thought, wow, this guy's really great. And I loved the fact that we had kind of that like north and south connection of like the Florida with the north. So I definitely want to dive into some of that today because I know that you're moving into the Florida market, but wanted to start from the beginning like we always do. So take me back to the very beginning of how you got into real estate. I know that you were very entrepreneurially minded at a young age. So take us back to those starting days and walk us through that.
Yeah, so basically a humbling beginning, which is quite cool. You know, it's obviously we built some grit going through the times, but it's basically we started investing. Actually, go back. Everyone talks about the book they've read that kind of changed their life, and Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like I remember reading that book, going to Montreal, going partying. I think I was like 21 years old, and I read it and like. Even while we were there in Montreal, by the time I got back 6 months later, I already bought my first property because it made sense financially. I'm not going to invent an iPhone or invent anything like tech savvy. So, I mean, ultimately, like real estate's definitely the best way for me to go. I understand it and I like it. So I bought my first rental property. And then, every year we buy another one. So by year 3, we had like off-campus residents for student housing. So we had like 14 tenants. I was 23 years old at the time, which was awesome. And it was good, making like $6,500 a month gross income in Canadian funds, ladies and gentlemen. So it's like monopoly money for USD funds, right? But and so it was great. I was actually making more money with the rental properties and actually my actual income as a carpenter. I was actually in construction at that time. So what happens is what kind of led me to real estate was a few things, obviously. Number one, the realtor that I dealt with, and it's always important who you choose as a realtor, because your realtor is going to be basically your point guard for everything. He's going to basically introduce you to your lawyer. He's introducing to your accountant. He's going to introduce you to everybody. So if you pick let's say a shady realtor or something of that nature, they're going to lead you into crap, and then they're going to give you all kind of crap professionals around you. And that's what happened to me, because the properties that we bought, they were good for passive income, but for appreciation value, they weren't good. Like I would never have bought those, like I would never lead anyone into that. So long story short, I became a board of director of these condominium townhouses. I found out like the insides of everything, where like there's like huge special assessments coming down the road. So I egressed as fast as possible. I dumped them like they were a hot potato. And I got out and I said, look how dangerous that is. Like I could have lost my shirt. I could have gone bankrupt. Like nobody cares. And even before that, I was led to a fraudulent mortgage agent in this whole process, where on closing of the third property, we couldn't close. And I kept having to bleed money in order to extend closing to trying to find some financing. And then at that point, what kind of finance you're getting. It's high ratio private loans. So, it's the first form of bankruptcy. Anyway, so we got out clean and we moved on. So fast forward, we're in construction. Everything's, getting tired because I'm with my dad. We're an Italian family. So there's always one head at the throne. It's never like a collaboration between the
I
sides.
I have an Italian last name, so I know how
I
that
know,
works.
Favazza, right? So basically, and that's what happened. So my dad never had intentions to grow the company, and I didn't want to stick around as a laborer. So it was very miserable. And I remember my wife, and it's always important to have a great partner in life. And my wife's super like, imperative to my success now. And she's like, but you liked real estate. You like dealing with the people. You like that aspect. Just do something. Go back, go get your real estate license. I was in the shower. Imagine this. She opened the curtain and I'm like,
I got an idea.
yeah, I got it. You know what? And literally the same day I ordered everything online and I started just going at it. So in 8 months, I kind of fast tracked our course. And then I remember telling my dad, like, hey, I'm not coming to work on Monday. I'm going to be a realtor. Right. So it was that fast transition. Nobody kind of knew. And that's it. That's pretty much the humble beginnings. But then also get into real estate. We had a different perception about it because you thought from the outside, maybe we were watching lazy agents where it was like they were golfing all the time. They weren't like, they're always like hanging out. They weren't working. So I go, this is going to be great. I'm going to drive a Benz and we're going to be hanging out. Like, wow, what a difference from, framing houses and being on high altitude roofs. I got a rude awakening when I got into real estate.
Now, this was how long ago now? Take us back to what year? So you got in 2010?
2010. Yeah. Yes. 2010.
So, I mean, back in 2010, there was social media, but it was very basic. So like, it's even worse now, because like everyone just wants to act like they have all the money, but they don't actually have any listings or any sales or anything at all,
I'm telling you, I was just talking to our new agent that we onboard. I go, everything looks shiny, but it's all shit. Trust me. Just shut the noise down and focus on your daily task and you're going to kill it. Yeah. So where were we at there?
So then after that, so your
I got into
first
real
couple
estate.
years, like how did things go? How did you ramp up? Where were you getting leads from? And how did you make it grow from there?
Fair enough. So like a rude awakening, getting into real estate. And it was like, okay, all these lazy agents, they're not really doing much. And then I start checking in. I'm like, do you own any investment properties? Because I thought, and I was very naive, I go, everyone in real estate was wealthy. And then I started checking in and there's, these people, living in small houses and not the greatest areas, but they're driving a Benz and, they look great in a suit, but what was that what kind of suit was it? So it was this whole like misconception. I'm like, holy shit, I got to start switching gears and starting to latch on to people that are actually doing things. And probably my changing moment in real estate, probably like that road, there's that poem by Robert Frost, the road is divergent to two woods and you travel the road less traveled by. Literally Mike Ferry, like one of your American coaches there, like huge. I went to one of his seminars and it was literally, he's like, you got to work hard and be consistent. I'm like, wow, that's all I needed to hear. I latched onto that, like just no one's business. And it became my religion for 6 years. So it was, I wake up every morning still 5:30, 6 a.m. We're in affirmations, meditation, exercise about an hour and a half every morning still, and it's this daily process. And I get to the office, it's the same process I've been doing. Obviously we've been improving as we're going, but it's so now embedded in my mind. It's militant, but we're having fun doing it. So that's what's cool.
So you have been an independent agent now, but you decided to make the move down to Florida. So talk to us about that decision and why you've decided in that area specifically, and kind of how it's going so far.
It's so curious how things lead you into a direction, right? And it's just like, obviously you guys dealt with the same inflation as us. The whole world did, as a general. And, every year I like to buy a piece of real estate. It's just mandatory. We put a couple $100,000 down on a property. We need to keep, like, my goal is to have, like $50,000 passive income per month for my retirement. And that's going to be through residential properties, right? Just to kind of fuel the lifestyle and then, still do your deals a year. So anyway, so with that in mind, I have to buy a property every year. And so I was able to buy a property in 2020 because the numbers made sense, but we had to like make it into a triplex for the numbers that make sense because the price is already elevated. By 21, it was like, what are we doing? I'm not going to put money out there. This is maddening. So I kind of held tight. And then now we're sitting on, cash naturally, like our holding corporation has to keep spending money to make money. And it's like, what do I do? And I'm like, I always had a thing for Southwest Florida. Never been there in my life. Okay. And Naples, I actually checked my last email from some agent in Naples from 2015. I was thinking about like buying something there. And my whole goal was to semi-retire down there, like 6 months there, 6 months back, skip our horrific winters. Cause this is like, it's not good
We
here.
get it. We get it.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys get the same weather. So what happens is, so going into in a year in advance, open up a bank account in America. I started doing the prep work, right? And then coming into January of this year, I was like, okay, well, I got to put money somewhere. Now is a good time for Florida. So I kind of just researched that market, and I fell in love with the Southwest Florida section between like our office is going to be located in Estero, like at Coconut Point. So we're going to be functioning Naples to Cape Coral. That's going to be like our go-to zone. And just watching that market and how beautiful the properties were, and also they were cash positive. I said, okay, like this is what we're going to do. We're going to stick money there. And it's new construction, beautiful, like interlock driveway, landscape. It's going to be all irrigated by the lake, community lakes. The landscapers come. So, and I'm an OCD by nature. So when I see green pastures where I'm not relying on the neighbor to cut the grass or water it, it's like it's already a check mark. And that kind of led to that. And obviously, if you paid attention to Canada, politically, we're a little bit unstable right now. I don't know if it's going to get better. I think your country's similar, but not, I think, as far off as we are. So anyway, it was like, now what do? We got to make a move. And I think even for the kids' future, I think America is looking quite better than we are here. So we're going to relocate to Florida first week of October and then start life there. So we're going to run both practices. So that's why that's how Florida came. So we came from just a simple investment to it's going to be a lifestyle. And then if you kind of put the pros and cons on a piece of paper between where we're living now and also Florida, there's way more pros, and not just for us, because we live a comfortable life here, but I think for the future growth of our children, it's going to be a fantastic place. And look at this. So we know the market's in a downturn. It's in a collapse, basically. I think we're going to hit hit a bottom that no one even understands here. I think it's going to be in Canada, we had like our recession 88, 89, which was really deep. Those housing prices took like 10 to 15 years to get back to that amount. I think we're probably going to be, I wouldn't say that deep, but I think 5 to 7 years to get back to where we are currently now, or what we just saw. So, and I'm not waiting, to be honest. For them to, I'm 41, and Napoleon Hill, they say you make all your money between 40 and 50. I don't know if their death cycles were a lot younger at that age, but I'm going to go with it. So
that's fantastic. So by 41, you have all these properties, you've got all this stuff, but you've done a lot of the stuff on your own, because you were telling me earlier, you've been an independent agent in Ontario. Yes. It's really just been you kind of handling the business, and then you have an assistant that helps you. Yes. So you were doing about 40 to 50 deals per year. When did that level start for you? Kind of going back, how many years in did you start to really see some growth with the numbers?
I think my goal was from inception of real estate was always add 10 deals per year. And then I go, by the 10-year mark, I'll be at 100 deals. Like that was the goal, right? The whole goal was to stay in real estate and build it up. Obviously, things change mentally. It's like, but anyway, so by the time I got to like 40 deals, something around there, it's probably 2015, something like that. So like 4 to 5 years into the business. And then at that point there, I could have ramped it up. I could have continued at that pace. But what was happening every year, I'd get into a mental burnout, like fried. You couldn't get out of bed in the morning. Like I'll be, truthful about that. It's just like, and trying to rebuild your mindscape for literally like you have to hammer it for like 15, 20 days to kind of bring it back to like some level of normality. And that really shook me up. And not only that, I was just dedicated to work and no play. And I remember another aha moment was my wife, she left the house. I think it was in 2015 or 16. She went out for the day with the kids, and I had the whole day to myself. I had no clients to deal with. It was like just me. And I right. And I looked around and I'm like,
sounds amazing.
Right. But what was scary was I had nothing to do. Was terrifying. So I'm like an ADD and an OCD with nothing to do. Is you become destructive. And I got to change life. So, health, they always say it's those 5 buckets of life, right? Health, wealth, naturally. So wait, health, financial, spiritual, physical, and family. Like you got to be topping these up daily in order to be wealthy, like well-balanced, rather than just rich. Like you're going to have, we have in our area here, in particular in Kleinburg, we have billionaires that live in the area. This is a very well-to-do area. I'm not wealthy like that. So, but anyway, but they're not happy. Like the families are broken, they're overweight. Yeah, they have so much money. You have a Lamborghini, but you can barely fit in the bloody thing. Let's
like you didn't feed all those other aspects of your life. So
yeah.
and that's, I think, where that misconception of like, if I'm rich, I'll be happy comes
Yes.
from. But like the reality is if you're not putting the time into all the things that truly are going to bring you happiness, like the dollar sign's not going to do it. So
Not
I
at
think that's
all.
a really powerful message.
And I think I caught on to that early. So then by 2017, I dropped out of Mike Ferry at that time because it was it was all consuming. And then if I can't commit to something 100%, it screws with your integrity. And if it screws with my integrity, it's going to screw the rest of my life. So I had to switch gears. So then we went into other coaching. There was, everyone promises you something. It's like, I even had to give one guy my T4 slip to prove that I was making X amount of dollars to actually enter the course. I'm like, okay, I go, this has got to be elite. I'm like, I just scraped by. I'm like, I'm going to learn so much out of here. And then in 6 months that, fire and then hire another one. Then I got a life coach for a bit, and we did NLP, like NLP practitioner. I got my master's and stuff like that. We did a lot of that, but also like life coaching in general, and just kind of remapping my mind where we want to be. And that was huge. I think that was a huge 2 to 3 years with so my coach, Linda, like she was just one of the smartest ladies I've ever met. And, really, really good. Like she'd have like this marker board and she'd be asking me questions. And basically it was almost like me just throwing my brain at this marker board. It's just like all these thoughts that came up, but she was just sort of like connected them and categorizing them. It's beautiful. What a great exercise that was.
You're actually the second person on this podcast to mention that they got a life coach and how much it helped improve their business. And when you think about, improving business, you think a real estate coach, you think that's the kind of coach you need. So it's really interesting to hear multiple people say now that a life coach is really kind of what helped them make sense of what was going on in their brain. So this person was saying that it was more about cold calling had always been just this wall for them, and getting on the phone with a lead was really difficult. But then they went to life coach and they kind of helped them work through like, why is that so hard for you? But when someone calls you, you can talk to them all day, like 100%. There's this weird thing. So I think that's really interesting that you bring that up.
The only good thing with my coach is a life coach. She's an NLP practitioner, so neuro-linguistics programming. So we weren't just like psychiatry sessions. We were doing physical activities that break barriers. And I'll give you one example, which was quite cool. There's one, and it's silly. We're all like in the middle of a park doing this. So it's like, and I'm a very private and like shy person. I can light it up in a crowd, but I want to get out because I'm not
you're
an
extrovert. Yeah, you're an introvert.
Introvert, right? So I'm in the park, like everybody watching me, and it's just like, so what was happening was, it's like you had to make a choice point, they call it. So it's basically finding an item that you have struggle dealing with. So me, it was like luxury properties, upbringing, very humbled, construction. We never really knew wealthy people as a family. We're blue-collar family. So the wealthy was like the elite. It was like we could never get to that level. So I got into a luxury property. I felt like I wasn't good enough to take it, right? So what was happening? So that was my choice point. And I'll tell you what happened after this, which we put, we did exercise, but we put into action and we got results. So we had this choice point, and basically what I imagined this choice point be was, like in Mario Brothers or Mario Karting, those things you kind of drive through and it kind of gives you like a
little extra boost.
Yeah, correct. Those invisible things, right? Those invisible squares. So I pictured this, like I'm walking through back and forth this choice point, like just like going right in and out of it, in and out of it. And the choice point was luxury properties. And obviously you're remapping your mind while you're doing this. And then when I left there, it was like a calm. And get this, I get a call from a neighboring property, which is 2.5 million in 2016, is like 5 million at the height today, right? And I handled it so calmly, and I just like bang, got the listing appointment. I went into the appointment. I went in there, and he was going to take me around. Look what I did here. Look, I said, let's go to your office. I know what you did. I took full control. I took off my suit jacket. I rolled up my sleeves. I'm like, here, this is the mat. Like, you've over improved the goddamn property. Like, he can't, but anyway. Regardless, I got the listing, and they interviewed like the ultra luxury, the people that their shit doesn't stink in the area. And I got it over them. Why? Because I went in there with just like a bomb. And I blew up with confidence. And that was that thing we did with that day in the park, the NLP exercise that actually gave me that confidence to do that. And I still carry it today, for sure.
So what exactly did you guys do? Were you like
Oh shit. It was like, so basically you envision something in front of you, which was your choice point. So this was luxury properties. I pictured this invisible block like Mario Kart. So I was walking through it. So you're walking through like head on into the problem. So you keep walking through it.
Got it.
You sort of like own it at that point. You manage it. You're taking control of this. It's not going to defeat you. So it's basically programming your mind rather. So if, like sometimes if you talk things through, it doesn't work. But if you're physically putting it into action, your brain, it remaps itself.
Exactly. So we did some training at the corporate level with all the execs in our company. And we did it through the Bob Proctor training. Have you heard of Bob Proctor?
Yeah, of course.
So he's amazing because he's a fellow Canadian as well. But he was amazing. And like, we did all this training and it was a lot of that. It's like, where do you think you can go? And then, people start in the room saying their goals. And it's like, well, it's not even, you should be like thinking way past that. You know what I mean? Because you in your head, you think you're only good enough. Like you said, with the luxury, like I'm only good enough to do this. And then once that other opportunity comes, you almost push it away. So that's 100%. Really, really awesome. So tell me, now that you are going to be down in Florida and you had mentioned to me earlier before we started recording that you are going to have someone that you're going to, be hiring or training up in Canada to kind of take that over. So that's going to be a whole new, ball game for you. So how are you preparing for that? What steps are you putting in place?
So the good thing is I'm in coaching still, real estate coach. I'm a very like pro coaching. You always need a coach. You need someone that's always smarter than you, that's going to humble you, right? So he's runs a very successful team out of here in Canada. So I'm leaning on him a lot to kind of like structure it and also guide me. But also I'm forced to do it this time. So I'm going to do it right. I'm going to pay attention. Now, like I'll have to come to the office when I don't want to. You know what I mean? It's now I have responsibility. Like I have an executive assistant, to be honest. Lisa's like, but she's gone for 2 weeks now. It's a disaster for me. I don't even know what's good. I have so much shit going on. It's not just real estate. It's the development. It's the investing. It's the rental properties. It's the stuff in Florida. It's the immigration. So she spirits all of that. So, so I'm forced to kind of go on and do it now. And that's good. That's what I need. I need that position where it's like, it's either fight or flight kind of situation. So we'll manage it and then we'll build it out. I think it'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then is your goal because you will be traveling back and forth, is your goal in Florida to also kind of build up any kind of team, or is it just going to be you while you're down there?
No, so I've already hired a managing broker because naturally I can't get my license to like get my SIN number. But at the same time, you can't just go fresh into a market. I hired an agent there that she's 40 years living in Fort Myers, 25 years of selling on that West Coast of Florida. Like I know everything. I have like an encyclopedia of information. And to be honest, I don't think I really want to go out and do the sales anymore. So I'll probably do it naturally, but I want to be that conduit between Canada and Florida, or like, Canadians now, I'm getting 3 calls a day from Canadians that want to buy in Florida. So it's like, now I'm that conduit. And then they're, Canadian owned company, not like, and again, I've dealt with all the Americans I've dealt with in Florida have been stellar. This is another reason I want to move there, because people still open the door and say hello to you. Like it's a whole different, it's like living in the 80s. Like, it's awesome.
It's a different world. That's for sure.
Different world that I can get used to it very fast. So that's pretty much it. So she's got all this information and we're going to have her on. And I kind of told her, like, she probably thinks that I'm going to maybe kind of separate us once I get licensed and stuff like that. I said, no, I'd love you to stay on and then build the shit out of this, right? I can go back to Toronto, do seminars, bring all these leads back, and let's try to organize, let's try to build something out. I think I've reached that point too. I want to be more, I still want to be involved with the sales, the day-to-day transactions, negotiating deals. I love it still, but ultimately I think at this age here, it's time for a little bit of like managing like different people to get outcomes. So I think it's fun. It's good. You know what? And it's hilarious. Everyone says at 40, it's downhill. I'm at the best physical shape of my life, the sharpest I've ever been, the wisest I've ever been. And I think the most business savvy I've ever been. So, look at some people might think it's the end of the world. And it's me. It's like, fuck, I can't wait to 50. Right. So,
yeah. I just turned 40 back in April. And I feel the same way, especially to like, once the kids get to a certain age and you don't feel like you're spending all your time with babies and dealing with baby type stuff, you do definitely feel like I can now start my life again. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get back to focusing on you. And I think that's the best part about the 40s to 50s, 100%. Is that really focusing on yourself. And it sounds like you are doing that you're doing that up in Canada. You're making a plan to make your life better for your family and to grow the business. It's really, really inspiring. I'm so excited that you shared all of this today. Thank you so much. One last question I have for you before we end is I want to get an idea of what kind of advice that you would give to someone who is, I'm going to, not many people are going to do what you're doing, right? So let's, slim it down to a bigger pool of people, I guess, if you will, of like the people that are in that 5 to 10 range of sales per year that do want to scale and add 10 per year to their, repertoire. What would be your biggest piece of advice for them?
Can I just kind of add to the conversation before, then I'll go into this?
Of course, yeah.
So regarding selling real estate, like a real estate brokerage, that's just one of the aspects. We've already opened up 4 corporations down there, LLCs, right? So it's basically, we're going to go down in 4 phases. First is the real estate brokerage, then it's the build, development, investment, and then naturally, or property management, and then investment. So it's going to be down in 4 segments. And so we're going down there not to be beach bums, but to make millions of dollars. That's the whole point. And we're going to add to the community. I've already sponsored we put our kids in private school. They've already sponsored their school, like a classroom and stuff like that, or whatever the room I did. I want to be part of that community. I want to grow into to love that country, your country, rather.
I love it. Well, you'll love it for sure.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. But yeah, that's fantastic. So it's a whole plan. It's a whole, you have a whole strategy. And
I just wanted to add that. Yeah. Cause it's not just,
absolutely.
It's multi,
and we'll edit that into that other section too. Perfect. So that makes total sense. But so give me that piece of advice for those people that are looking to grow that 10. I loved the fact that you said my goal was 10 every year, because I feel like that's very attainable, but at the same time is also a stretch. So how do you do that?
I think for a junior age, and number one, you got to shut the noise off. Like, stop watching people that are just shiny and have no, like, there's no substance to it, because we can drive a Lamborghini. It's all bullshit. Look at the guy that's working hard and just giving information. If you're going to follow a realtor on Instagram, actually, Anthony's pretty good. We have very similar personalities.
You guys have a very similar start, like the family business, and then being like, I'm out of this, I'm doing my thing. Like, you guys have a very similar story. You guys would get along. I'll introduce you after this. So we're a
driver personality, right?
Yep.
So I would imagine shut all the noise off. That's for sure. Because what happens is when you're following too many people and it looks more shinier than what it is, it makes you feel negative. You're going to have a pit in your stomach, and that pit in the stomach is going to make you unproductive. So you got to eliminate as many distractions as possible. Number 2, you gotta have a schedule. Scheduling is so important, and it's not just the real estate portion. Now, I'm training my agent now. It's not like I'm trying to give him a whole balance of things, and work is there too. Naturally, we got to make money to support our families. But it's also like waking up early, exercising daily. Exercise is so important for your mental sharpness. People don't get it. Like, who cares about the beach body? Forget about that. Like, it's all about physical health, like, and your well-being. Because when you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy, and then you're going to get good sleep at the same time, because you're burning energy in the morning. And not only that, if you're having the negative thoughts, and we all get negative thoughts, I'm riddled by it. Your mind can just wander into deep shit many times. But I find with like rigorous exercise, like if I'm going for like a 6 or 8 mile run or something like that, it's like you and no headphones, just like torture yourself with your mind, and literally you work out your problems, because you're forced to. You can't walk back, like, especially if it's a hot day. But yeah, so and that's for sure. And then with real estate itself, just have a process. You got to get in and do all your same tasks every day, your most important tasks. Like, you got to do your lead follow-up in the morning. If you got listings, make sure you contact those agents, specifically in today's market, where a lot of agents that did so well and did nothing are going to have to actually work. And we're going to see how many people last. Already 5,000 to 6,000 agents have left our Toronto real estate board, and this is nothing. This is nothing. This is just begun. We're still selling shit. Wait, in 5 to 6 months. But anyway, so and just build that. So your lead follow-up in the morning for sure. Make all your appointments in the morning, set them up for the evening, and then fill in your day. You might want to add some, different processes. You always keep improving your businesses, but also take mental breaks. Like, if you're all like fussy and just go for a walk, go out, like take lunches, make sure like, healthy lunches, like just calm down, breathe.
Yeah. One day at a time.
And then for business, to get business naturally, like I came up from the old school, so door knocking and cold calling. I used to contact, like, my triple dialer was, I think, 70 to 80,000 calls per year. Like 10 to 12% of that was actually contact rate. So like 6,000 to 7,000 people I would speak to and try to get, listings. But I think this generation has it a little bit better than the last because of social media. Like they can promote themselves as long as they're not full of shit and they're giving out great information. They can generate a following, and you don't need 100,000 people. If you got like 200 to 300 solid people that gonna refer you business, it's all you're looking for. Don't look for the numbers. I think people get mixed up with that.
Yep, absolutely. They're trying to get after those following
Yeah.
numbers, and they're not realizing that the following that you have, just make sure you're working them and you're going to get more referrals.
100%. Work them to the end. And then also, like when you're doing deals, when you start doing deals, like if someone's just gone to business, did 5 deals, like make sure those 5 people are serviced after. Like I'm still servicing, like, after 12 years, the same people that I've dealt with that have not purchased a piece of real estate since then. They may have given me 1 referral, some not, but they're still getting the same service. Like, wine, we touch them the 22 touches per year, right? That's what we're doing per client. And that's what we're doing. We keep that. And those people, and that cost me like at least, I don't know, maybe $1,000 to $1,500 per client per year. But it's naturally like they're still in that loop. I don't want to lose them, right?
What are those touches, if you don't mind me asking?
I wish my assistant was here. She'd have a better handle on it, but
Just examples.
Yeah. So we, the major events like Christian holidays and stuff like that, like Christmas, Easter. So there's always something like either a bottle of wine's dropped off at Christmas, something like that, a calendar, their birthday cards. We send birthday cards out. And then not only that, I text them in the morning. I have this book. I call it the Bible. Like I'm old school. So see, it's all nicely highlighted.
I love it. It's all highlighted. That looks
my
great.
assistant, God bless her. She's the best. I'm trying to bring her to Florida. I bought a big ass house and I'm trying to stick her there in one of the rooms. But anyway, so I'll read this in the morning. If there's a birthday, I'll physically text message them, right? And it's like you make that conversation. You may the last time you contact them was a year from that, like a physical contact. But you can leads into a call, leads into top of mind agent, and ultimately into a lead at some point, right?
You're probably beating their family to texting them too.
By far, I guarantee you, like 7:30 sometimes in the morning, 8 a.m. It's like the realtor, the wife might get them to
Steve called me, but my mom didn't call me.
1,000%, no doubt.
That's fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. Our listeners are going to get so much out of this. And I am so excited to have been able to talk to you about all of this. Good luck in Florida. We'll definitely stay in touch because we'll have that Florida connection, and maybe we'll meet up while we're down there at some point.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really cool. Maybe I'll come to one of your seminars if you guys are going to do one down there. I would love to.
Love it. Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Appreciate it. And we will see you on the next episode of Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you.